Welcome to the Do You Ever Wonder podcast. Ever find yourself wondering about the world's biggest topics? Join your host, Mike Haltman, CEO, board chair, and all-around deep thinker, as he dives into real estate, investing, national security, self-improvement, dating, networking, finance, and so much more. Expert guests, real conversations, no limits. Hit subscribe and get ready for insights, surprises, and conversations that will make you think. The Do You Ever Wonder podcast starts now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mike Altman, and indeed, I am the host of the Do You Ever Wonder podcast, and I cannot get over every time I hear that intro how good it makes me sound. I'm really something else. But today we're very lucky. We have as our guest, very special guy, David Cohen, a co-founder of SRG Residential,
Yes.
also the owner of Hilltop Realty and Development.
Yes. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. You are one of the, so you started SRG with Jared Sarney and with Sam Horowitz.
Yes.
And, but before that, we're going to touch a little bit on where you were before. So you got out of Syracuse University and then you went into commercial real estate. What pushed you in that direction?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So at Syracuse, I majored in finance and concentrated in real estate. And at Syracuse, the real estate program was run by the then president of Newmark Knight Frank, now Newmark. So just had an interest through college in commercial real estate and working in the office leasing sector in Manhattan. I was fascinated by office buildings and everything that went on surrounding them. So I just took an interest into it in college. I thought it was just something more tangible that you could touch and feel rather than sitting behind a desk working on Excel spreadsheets. So I just liked the fact that it had like a finance background to it, but it was something that was more tangible. So I just drew an interest into it and started learning about it at school. And right out of college, worked as an office leasing broker in Manhattan, which was a lot of fun and a great experience.
Yeah, you know what? When you started, it was a lot more fun and a better experience than it is now, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh,
So you would have to find the companies who are looking for property for
yeah, so early on in my career, I worked for a really great guy and mentor of mine. To this day, shout out to Michael F. If he's listening to this. Worked with him, and he really instilled like a great work ethic in me, learning how to canvas, cold call companies that were potentially looking for office space, whether they were upsizing or downsizing, and was working long hours just trying to get in the door. And luckily pretty early on I was pretty good at cold calling and successful at it and setting up meetings for the senior guys on the team. And um, it was just like a great learning experience, and really enjoyed it for the time that I was doing it, which was 6 years or so.
That's fantastic. I mean, it's hard. It's not easy to the rejection of cold calling is not for everybody. But
Absolutely.
if you can build
Absolutely.
up that tolerance and you have that kind of personality, fantastic. You know, I've become friendly with a guy. I mean, you might know the name Bob Knackel, who's a big commercial real estate sales guy, and he talks about cold calling all the time. And basically, you just have to have a thick skin, keep doing it, deal with the rejection, and if you're persistent, eventually you get through. And that's a description of life, really.
Absolutely. It would take 100 no's to get one yes,
Yep.
and that one yes leads to a bunch of other great things. So you just got to treat it like a job, not take things personally, and you just keep on trucking. And,
Exactly.
eventually, if you stick with it, it'll happen.
You know what? The not taking things personally can be tough. Like when a guy cuts me off on the road, I think he's doing it just because he knows me and he's cutting me off because he doesn't like me. But, you know, that's my own problem. But you did have one thing before we hit residential. So Arch Amenities sounds like an extremely interesting company. What was that all about?
Yeah, so I was working at Arch during the pandemic. They had brought me on to kind of spearhead their amenitization strategy in New York. So they were looking at setting up operating agreements with different landlords that were looking to amenitize their properties. So we went into the Seagram's building, helped them develop the playground, which was a huge amenity facility. They had pickleball court, gym, conference rooms. That was all part of the services that the building provided for their tenants. So it was like it's a huge value add for these office buildings in New York and across the country that are looking to attract talents and get them to lease space with them. And I was helping them set up different operations in New York and different facilities across the country. So it
It's
was
great. I went to the website. It looks like it almost looks like a fun place to work.
Yeah, it was a great experience also. Did that after working as a leasing broker. So it was a really cool experience. Difficult timing, doing that in the midst of the pandemic and
I'd say,
offices being pretty vacant and people not going in. So it was a challenging time to do it, but
hey,
it was
that's
a good experience
what
nonetheless.
doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
Absolutely.
And the last thing, you were part of, you were nominated and voted into the Commercial Observer 30 under 30, which is quite an accomplishment. That's fantastic. I know that the managing editor of Commercial Observer, and I know it's an unbelievable organization. So congratulations for that.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a long time ago at this point, during my days as a leasing broker, but it was a great accomplishment. And was really proud to receive the award.
Absolutely. I mean, but you're not 30 under 30 anymore. That's the problem.
Correct.
You know what? I'm vying for the 70 under 70 award now. It's very competitive. But so I kind of this episode is kind of like from skyscrapers to the suburbs. You saw an opportunity, and what brought you out to Long Island and into the residential game?
Yeah, so it's a really interesting story. I had gone to contract to buy my house right before the pandemic. I spent probably a year before in like 2019 looking for a house. Where I grew up in Melville. And everyone that I came into encounter with, although, nice people, I just didn't feel the enthusiasm and energy that I had as a commercial real estate broker. And I found myself just like getting out there myself, trying to track down houses that I might have not seen on Zillow, weren't getting thrown to me through MLS, through different agents that I was talking to. And I eventually found, my house, before it had hit the market. So during that process, I was just like in the back of my head, I was always like, if someone just tapped into this on Long Island, there's like a huge opportunity for someone in my generation that could connect with the people that are around my age that were starting a family, growing a family, moving from the city to the suburbs. I just saw that as an opportunity. Lo and behold, a month after I went to contract, the pandemic hits, and like the entire world was flipped upside down. And everyone that I knew that was living in the city at the time, I knew it was just going to accelerate their move to Long Island, even though I had done it like a little early, like a month before. I just knew that everyone was going to want to get out of the city. you know, Work life changed. You weren't going to the city 5 days a week. People wanted space. So I just a light bulb went in off in my head. Like I remember it specifically. I was sitting on a Zoom just like this at the job I was working for, Arch Amenities, and I was just like, I have to do this. I have to put my foot in the door. Like this is my moment in time. I always wanted to start my own business. Um, so I just started running with it. I started talking to my friends and friends of friends that were going to be looking to move out to Long Island. And I had a very good connection in Melville, just having grown up there my entire life. My parents were of the age where they were starting to think to move. Um, and I just started doing it. Like there's no other way to describe it. I just started putting buyers and sellers together and making deals happen, you know, off market. And then that snowballed and snowballed and snowballed to where we are today. I mean, I could go a lot more into it, but
That
it,
is, it's a, you know what? It's a story of seeing opportunity and grabbing opportunity. Not everyone does that. A lot of people see something that looks like an opportunity and then just keep going on their merry way. So that's phenomenal that you could do that. Now, how did you hook up with Jared
so
and with Sam?
Jared and I actually met through Sam Horowitz. So Sam, I've known since middle school days, just through Jewish geography on Long Island, a lot of mutual friends from our sleepaway camp. He grew up in Hewlett, I grew up in Melville. And when I was thinking about doing this, I knew Sam was already a residential broker and had already made the switch from he was a corporate real estate attorney in the city and then started his own real estate business in the city. So he was the first person that I called when I thought of the idea. And I was like, listen, I know you're doing this in the city. You can be the guy selling the, apartments and homes in the city, and I could be the guy on Long Island. And Sam was already tapping into Long Island as well. And I just thought it was like the perfect synergy and marriage. We're the same age. We have a very similar social circle, and network. Um, and we're very like-minded, Sam and I. So Sam was like, absolutely. And it's funny because someone else, reached out to me a few weeks prior, um, pitching the same thing. His name's Jared Sarney, who I didn't know at the time, but Jared, similarly came from, well, different background, but similar concept. So Jared was working in the spring break business. That business sold right before the pandemic. And then from there, he started flipping homes and he decided to park his license with Sam also. Um, and then all of his friends who saw that he was building and flipping these homes, were coming to him, having them help them find their homes. So the three of us then linked up and strategized and, joined forces. And, 4 years later, we're a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, no, listen, that's a story of chance and contacts, the people you know. Your Rolodex is so critical. Had you not known Sam, although I think you still would have been successful on your own. So you guys, Long Island has always been run by larger residential real estate companies. You guys are somewhat smaller, but as you said, you've made a big impact. And
Absolutely.
how do you attribute that, or to what do you attribute it? Is it that you can, the people of your age relate better to you, or you just have the marketing you do, or probably a lot of what you do is word of mouth?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think that the industry, especially on Long Island, was just due for some disruption and shakeup. And having people that related to the younger generation of buyers, and offered them something a little different. It's not just opening a door. It's getting out there, being creative, um, thinking of how to get homes that might not be available today, but 9 months, 12 months down the road. And myself, Jared, and Sam are extremely good at that in connecting potential sellers with buyers and lining the two up on like a perfect marriage that accomplishes both of their goals. That's like a huge part of it.
So you
Another
do
part,
that, well, just a quick question there. So you
yeah.
do that with people who are not yet on the market, you know of?
Yeah, I mean that's how we really started. And there's a lot of conversation around private exclusives and everything right now, but we really started by finding sellers that, might be ready in 9 months, 12 months and lining up buyers for them in advance.
So
And those buyers waiting for them to close. And during the pandemic, I mean, this was like a huge part of the business. There was just like a lot of lead time for, if someone was moving to Florida, looking to move to Florida and some delays in their construction. So they needed some flexibility on the sale. Maybe they didn't know exactly where they wanted to go, but they wanted to capture the momentum of the market right now. So there were a lot of different factors in that. And we just really networked ourselves first with like this huge buyer pool, and we're getting these sellers like huge numbers that they weren't expecting from other brokers they were maybe talking to locally, and we really maximize that.
So, not to expose your secret sauce, but how do you target? How do you figure out who is a potential seller? Do they reach out to you or you?
A combination of our own marketing efforts and canvassing efforts, just like the days of commercial real estate and cold calling. Except here, we're kind of like a known entity and local, and I can introduce myself as someone that's grown up in a lot of the neighborhoods that we're trying to sell in and that people want. So we already have that warm introduction.
So
And then
you'll
I think for
actually
me,
you'll go door to door.
yeah, door to door, calling, I mean, that looking at expired listings, I mean, all the traditional ways, it's just people, some people don't do them. And we are out there and doing them. And a lot of it has been word of mouth, social media, um, and a massive part on it that we haven't really touched upon yet is, our background in development and construction is a
Right.
huge, huge tool that we have. So, for example, when we were first starting, we weren't like building our own homes yet, but we were helping most of our clients after they would buy a house to renovate them after the fact. And that was a huge part of why we started, especially for Jared and I. Um, we would go in, we would be able to, look at a house with a client and on the spot give them a quote of how much it would be to renovate.
Wow.
Which is something that most brokers and realtors, they might have some experience in, but we really had a deep experience in, me from just my days in commercial real estate, and Jared from, having prior experience to building and flipping homes. And our buyers would be surprised at how reasonable the prices are to build something. I mean, they had an idea in their head, this bathroom could cost 60, $70,000. And we were like, no, we can deliver this product for 20, $25,000. And that gives them that extra arbitrage to bid on the house that they might not have bid on.
So is that because the prices you were giving them to construct, you weren't building in a large profit?
Partly yes, but partly it was just the buyer's just not fully knowing. I mean, they might have had like an idea in their head of
Right.
an aunt or an uncle or a mom or a dad that went to the like most high-end person to do their house,
Right.
where we can deliver a similar, if not same product for a lot less, and we were already doing it, at scale, so it we were able to control the costs a little more and still do well with it. And again, you were right. We're not trying to build in as much profit because
Right. You
our
make
goal
money
is
on
to
the
on the brokerage end of
right,
the
right,
business.
right. So you can go into a house. So doing a bathroom is one thing, doing a kitchen is one thing, but some people come into a house and they want to blow out the back or they want to, whatever larger construction jobs, and you were able to and still can obviously price that out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even if they don't end up using us, like we could still just deliver a real-time quote so they have that idea in their head when they're making the bid, which is super helpful. And then they end up shopping it out. And whether they use us or not, it's just an extraordinary tool that we're able to use to get people to either say yes or a quick no to a house. I mean, a
Absolutely.
quick no is sometimes as good as like a maybe, and you drag something along and then it ends up not working out. So it's a huge tool for us.
Absolutely. And you know what?
And it also just gives buyers like a sense of comfort in knowing that we have all these tools at our disposal, I think. And we're not just a door opener.
Well, not just right. I mean, you have expertise beyond, well, when you say a door opener, when I was looking for a house in 1994, and this is a maybe a pejorative term, and I don't mean it, or I would never say it again, but we used to work with housewives, people who were not really dedicated to the career of selling houses. They were, like you said, opening doors and, hoping that the deal went through. But that's, listen,
Yeah,
every,
listen, I know it. Again, nothing against anyone. I mean, there's a lot of housewives out there that are awesome brokers, and I have great relationships with, and crush it and kill it, and are out there doing great things. nothing against anyone, but I do feel like we offer something different.
Absolutely. And you know what? I take back, so there's an agent across the street from me who happens to be, uh, she's not a housewife. Well, she's married, but she's a phenomenal broker. So, yeah, no pejorativeness meant, but no, every tool, every value add you bring to the table is just that much more. And when your clients feel you have that level of expertise, it creates a trust that is critical in every relationship. Whether it's selling title insurance or whether it's selling a house or whether it's selling a widget, if the buyer trusts you, that's critical.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's fantastic. No, you guys have obviously mastered well, you focus mostly on the Melville and vicinity area, correct?
Yeah, so our like core markets are Melville, Dix Hills, Plainview, Bethpage, Woodbury, Syosset are like of those three school districts, like core markets.
Hmm.
It's crazy. I mean, we last year we only had 10 agents, not many of which were doing this full time. And within those markets, so think the big companies, Douglas Elliman, Compass, Realty Connect, Real Broker, um,
Signature.
Signature, we're the number one agent
Wow.
out of all those in those three towns. And then if you expand it out further into neighboring towns like Cold Spring Harbor, Lloyd Harbor, Roslyn, Oyster Bay Cove, we're the number two. So it's pretty powerful.
Oh, absolutely. But is there a metric or a tool if I'm looking for a broker? You know, obviously everyone these days is looking online for something. Is there a is there a place people go where they can tell who the best, most successful agents are in a specific area?
Yeah, you can go on MLS and see, the sales volume that each company has in the specific areas, and you could narrow it down by single town, multiple towns. That's all like accessible data that's out there.
So is that what people do?
No, I mean we try and market that. We take that data and we blast it out there and
Okay.
market that. But I think we are really good. I do think we're also just really good marketers, and it's like very simple marketing that we do. Like we do a lot of volume. I mean, the brokerage business is a volume business,
Sure.
and simply by like making a good presentation of the listings that we have coming, the deals that we're putting under contract, the deals that we have closing, and getting that out consistently to people. Although some people might find it to be annoying and a little bit in your face, it just shows how much we're actually handling and doing and being able to service for our clients,
So
and
what
giving that exposure to everyone.
what's your go-to social media platforms?
Instagram has been key for us.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Instagram has been key. I mean, a lot of our generation is on there constantly. So Instagram's been really big for us. We're making a little bit bigger of a push into Facebook right now. That's more targeted at our seller clientele. So I've gotten a bunch of good feedback from Facebook and going into different groups and just blasting our regular marketing material onto Facebook as well has been really powerful too.
Who creates your marketing material?
In the beginning, it was really done by us
Hmm.
internally. We now have someone that's an agent with us that's also our head of social media. So he's been great. Shout out to Danny. He does all of our marketing materials
Great.
and creating all the Instagram posts and also does our video.
That's phenomenal. So
So
you do
that's been
video.
big. Yes.
So are you on TikTok?
Dabbled with it a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, Here and there, I'll post some videos onto TikTok. It's gotten good responses. One of our younger agents, she's a little bit bigger on TikTok and's gotten a ton of traction through there. So for me personally, I haven't done it too much. I have a few posts on there, but one of our younger agents more so.
So just out of curiosity, because I do a lot of my own marketing on social media, and I'm curious, is it the content alone, or is it the hashtags, or is it the followers? What creates a successful post?
I mean, I don't do hashtags at all.
Really
I don't. Maybe I
interesting.
should. I don't do
Well,
them.
not if you're successful at it.
Yeah, I don't do them. I just think it's like a very niche, small following that we have. It's not like 10, maybe 1,200 people follow my
Really,
account on Instagram, and somehow the word gets out. So it's really just been very organic. It's not like, we're looking to have hundreds of thousands of followers and it's like we're this social media guru presence, but it's very niche and very organic. And it's just the word is out.
that's that's phenomenal. You know what? One day I'm going to get my word out too. But I I know, like in most businesses, like in my business, differentiation, trying to differentiate from your competitors, and it's no different, probably greater in your business. So we rescheduled the time of this because you were going to be doing I assume, a listing presentation.
Yes,
So
yes.
now, what do you do? And I'm curious only because I haven't seen that many listing presentations. What do you bring to a listing presentation that is different or shows more value than your competitor?
You're gonna laugh at this answer. I've never brought anything other than myself and a pen to a listing presentation.
Really?
And we are just starting to develop like a leave behind, which I'm going to bring today because this is actually a big one that we have. Um, but I think the biggest differentiator in residential real estate, and this gets lost on a lot of agents that are out there, is people want to work with people. They're not hiring you because you're at some company that is pitching a tech stack or pitching something else. Like these bigger companies, their client is not actually the buyer or the seller. The bigger companies, their client is the broker. With us and a smaller firm, our client is truly the homeowner. Like you're dealing with the owner of the company that's making all the decisions. I don't have to, you're not speaking to a broker that then has to go to their manager who has to go to another manager through all this red tape. And their main goal is these bigger companies, their main goal is to recruit brokers. Our main goal is to sell homes and to satisfy what the client wants.
That's
And that message that we're getting across as a small, broker owned company is resonating like you can't imagine. When we'll go into a presentation, I'm sorry, I just want to make this
no,
last
no,
point.
go for it, go for it.
Like they'll bring in multiple brokers from the same company and they're all pitching the same thing. Why, not going to name any names, why so and so is this, why this company is this, but they're not actually getting across the message of what the person who's going into that meeting is going to do. And I get that feedback from people all the time. Like, you're so authentic, it's so real, you're not pitching this bigger picture. It's like it's a very simple business. And I think that gets lost upon by
You
a lot of
know,
agents that are out there.
the word authenticity is such a key word, in networking. So I run a networking group, and I always talk about know, like, trust. You know people, you like people, but until you trust those people, you're not going to necessarily do business with those people. And it seems like you now, when you go into this presentation, is it just you?
Today's going to be Jared and myself.
Okay, but you convey and you build some kind of sense of trust that you will do. I mean, I kind of remember, I mean, this was back in the 80s, but when my mother was going to sell her house after my father died, everyone's just piling up the BS. They're telling you all the magic they're going to bring. They're telling you the price to list it at that you want to hear. They're not being authentic, they're not being real, they're not being sometimes truthful. And I mean, it's interesting that you go in with nothing because I'm sure you get asked the same questions that the other companies have all kinds of handouts to answer, but the fact that you can probably answer them off the top of your head.
I always have something ready to go, like on my iPad, and like I have a small iPad that I bring with me that I just put on the table. And if I end up like showing a video or a piece of marketing that I've done,
Right.
maybe I'll whip it out for that. Or like if they want to see like past sales, I have that ready to go. Um, but maybe 1% of the time that I go on these meetings do I need it and bring
What
it
do
out.
they, so I would imagine they want to know what price they should list it at. They want to know what kind of marketing you're going to do for them.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I assume those are the primary questions.
Yeah.
And also, how many other houses have you sold in the area?
Yes. How many houses have you sold? Where do you list at? Where do they sell at? I mean, that I could rattle off like the back of my hand. So I mean, those are the typical ones, but a lot of it is like getting to know the person. I found like it gets a little personal in questions, which is like a good thing. They want to hear the backstory of like where we grew up and how we've gotten to where we are today. A lot of times it's like a warm meeting that we're going into it. They have heard about us through a friend or a relative or a friend of a friend, so they have an idea of who we are, and we just tell our story and how we've gotten to where we are today. um, and all these extra things that we bring to the table. I'm doing a listing right now in Queens, where it's great townhouse. It's like a $1.5 million property. We're able to go in there and it needed some cleaning up. So we're bringing our crews in. We're cleaning it up for them. It's going to take us 2 days, um, at a great price that we're, giving to them because we want to get the listing. We want to get it into great form. And, for a few $1,000, that owner now has like a white boxed house and completely cleaned out, and we're taking care of everything for them. Um,
So when you go on this meeting today, and is it in a different location? I mean,
yeah, today is a little different for us.
yeah.
It's a little bit different of a location. It's a big price point, which is good. So we're getting up there into those like higher end listings,
Yeah.
which is like
I don't know if
really.
you're allowed, if it's, I know there are HIPAA laws, but what town is it in, if you're allowed to say?
I could say it's in Oyster Bay. It's a property on the water in Oyster Bay, and they're looking to sell. And we got recommended to them through various different people, and I think we have a really good shot of getting a really big listing for
You
us.
know what? Referrals are the best advertising that you can do, but is there going to be a point when you're in this meeting where you get a very good sense that they're going to hire you?
Yeah, I usually I usually know
It's
within
when
the
they sign the
first.
contract.
Yeah, I've never even brought paperwork to a meeting either. I don't. It's not my style.
That's pushy.
Yeah, I just I always try and put myself in the other person's shoes. And if I met someone for the first time and they're putting something on the table for me to sign 20 minutes after meeting them,
Right. It's a
it
turnoff.
wouldn't rub me the right way.
Right.
So I've never done it. You know, they'll ask, I'll say, if you want the paperwork, we could email it to you. You can take a look at it. And that's just my style. Some people, I'm sure it works for them to be pushy and do it. It's just not me.
I would
Uh,
assume that a majority of companies would bring the paperwork.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
You're
And
trying.
it may work, but for me, I don't
No,
know.
listen,
No.
listen. You know what? We're out of time, but whatever it is you guys are doing is obviously the right recipe because you're incredibly successful after not a very long period of time. And I would love to have you back at some point to hear about how you got this large listing and how you knocked it out of the ballpark and it opened up the rest of the coast of Long Island to you guys.
I'd
But so
love to. You
if somebody wanted to reach you, how would they do that?
can find me our website, srg-residential.com, Instagram, at srg residential. My personal Instagram's at Hilltop Realty Partners. Um, any means of communication myself.
Fantastic. Or they
Uh,
can just ask me and I'll refer them to
Perfect.
you. Okay, good. Do I get a referral fee though?
Of course.
Of
Of
course.
course.
All right, David, a real pleasure, and I do look forward to having you back in the future to see how far you guys go, because it seems like an unbelievable company.
Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate the time. It was fun.
Absolutely.
Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. That's a wrap for this episode of Do You Ever Wonder? Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, and drop us a review. We'll be back soon with more insights, experts, and conversations that make you think. See you next time. Do you ever wonder where curiosity meets conversation?